Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all honor and all glory to Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawahshi, bahasham, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect, starting with the 144,000 governing body of the nation of Yahawah, and the men, the women, the children, the true believers, in the name of Yahawah, bahasham, Yahawahshi. May He have mercy on you in these last days. It's your brother, I'm not with Allah, coming at you with another lesson, and this will be, Lord willing, this will be edifying. I'll go and play this video, okay, and it's going into some history of, once again, what the so-called white man was doing to the Israelites. I forgot the area this in, so when I play the video, it'll bring it out. It's a 10-minute video. I'm not going to let it all play, but I do want to say before I play it, this is fair use. Fair use, fair use. This is for educational purposes, and truly to bring out edification around the history, or the hidden history, or even the hidden murders of the Israelites, which is why we know again that bloodshed of our brothers and sisters, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, who were murdered by the so-called white man for various reasons. We know, these things are going to be paid back in the very, very near future, like very near. But until that day, we have to keep building the case, keep bringing out the lessons, keep exposing him for who he really is, and leave no stone unturned. Reveal everything that the Spirit brings out, okay? So let me play this video, and just see what the Spirit do.
Tonight we go to the Whitney Plantation to learn more about the enslaved who fought for freedom, to confront hard truths, and examine generational resilience. If this land could speak, it would whisper the story of America. Among the ancient oaks of the Whitney Plantation, just outside New Orleans, roots stretch deep beneath the soil, threads connecting centuries of memory, triumph, suffering, and survival. This is a city etched by history and carried by the currents of the Mississippi River. For generations, that river has flowed like a lifeline through a growing nation. All roads led to this river, and at its mouth, New Orleans, a port that helped transform a young republic into an economic power.
When Thomas Jefferson is thinking about how to expand the nation at the conclusion of the American Revolution, he's thinking westward. He's thinking about the land for the farms and how they will get their goods to market. That means the Mississippi River.
America may have not become a world power if not for one of the greatest real estate deals in history, the Louisiana Purchase. It doubled the size of America and gave us access to the vital Mississippi River.
Why is Amazon paying me $20,000 a month? Well, I didn't make this kind of money selling yoga mats.
Vital Mississippi River.
New Orleans becomes so very critical to America's economic future by virtue of its geography. If we think of the Mississippi River as a highway, perhaps we can think of New Orleans, right, as a major intersection, right? For it really truly becomes America's on-ramp into the global market.
Every barrel of cotton, every shipment of sugar, every settler heading west moved along the Mississippi. And there was human cargo, too.
The Mississippi River is a site of both enormous wealth. More millionaires in this region than anywhere else in the United States at the time. But that wealth, of course, comes at an incredible price. So when we think about the Mississippi River and the cotton that it shipped up and down, it's not just cotton. Those ships are also carrying people.
We need to study, Louisiana in order to understand, modern day America. These are the children of Whitney who spent their childhood in slavery. Here we use those narratives, to tell the story of slavery. of course, we have to tell the story of how black people suffered in this country. Teach our children and grandchildren that the history of slavery is American history, and it is a history of civilization building.
Along this stretch of river known as the German coast, another chapter unfolded. One of resistance, of courage, of people willing to risk it all for freedom.
In 1811, the people who were enslaved in this area decided to create a fight for a free nation, for freedom. So they started marching downriver to storm the city of New Orleans, but they failed, and they had to pay the price.
But as if death were not enough, they had their heads cut off.
And in front of everybody, men, women, and children, they were shot to death, and then they were decapitated, and the heads posted on poles.
This plantation, Woodland in Laplace, is the origin site of the largest rebellion. The first blows of the revolution in 1811 started right next door in the room next to us.
So that's after that, this video goes into this family's history, and I don't want to get into all of that. I wanted to get to the point where you saw what they did to these Israelite men. They rebelled. They tried to flee. They were caught. They were shot to death. Then their heads were decapitated in front of their wives and children and other men. Okay, and then took their heads and put them on a pole. And to this day, what you saw was a monument of that, to remind the people, whether you white or so-called black, what the so-called white man did to the so-called black man, woman, and child. Okay, and so when we think about that, and we look at the current condition and climate in America, it's so many ways you can go when you discuss this with the scriptures. But I'm going to take the route of the judgment that's coming for what was done to these people, our people. That's the route I'm gonna go, because I could talk about what the Lord did do this. He did, and it was because of idolatry, which you so-called Negro, Latinos, Native Americans are still doing today. Okay, but we know this. What we don't hear enough of is the actual punishment for this being done. Because you would say, well, why should the white man be punished if the Lord did this to him? Well, I got the scriptures, to explain that. It is still, if you could receive it. But the bottom line is, the Lord is going to recompense this. There will be payback for that type of brutality and many more. When you read the Willie Lynch letter, you get a really deep-rooted understanding of how evil and wicked this devil is, and the route he will go, the extreme route he will go to put fear in the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American man. Really, this is really dealing with the Southern Kingdom right here, right? But also, again, the other tribes, the Taínos, which is the Puerto Ricans, okay, the Seminole Indians, which are the Reubenites. Then you got the Gadites, which is, the Native Americans, okay. These things are not going to go unpunished, and it's not going to be a long lesson, but it's so apparent that we're going to see a day where the Lord is going to judge these people for this. So my question to the Yah Israelites and the Christian community is, where in the Bible does it say that God is just going to forget all this? Because you may read scriptures out of context in regards to love and, turn the other cheek, be at peace with all men. You got to really understand who Yahawahshi was talking to, whom the word he called Jesus, and dismiss everything else, because this Bible is the book for the prophets, okay, the Israelite man, right? And it is really used at this last day to prophesy, okay, to help govern your household, okay, and to continue to feed yourself in the spirit so that you maintain a good healthy dose of fear. Because there's a twofold scenario here. On one side, when you look at it, the Lord allowed his people to go through this horrific atrocity where these men were just trying to escape, and when they caught them, they shot them, so they were dead already. But the Edomite man has to go far beyond to put that fear in you as if he's the Most High, and so that's what he did. I can guarantee you, all those so-called Negro Latino, or Negro men, women, and children watching their father, their uncle, their brother's head being decapitated after being put to death, that really traumatized them, right? You talking about, that is a traumatizing an event. Well, guess what? That same trauma is coming back to you devils for what you did, okay? So let's get the scriptures. This is Proverbs chapter 15 and 3. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. So the Lord saw that. He's seen everything from the foundation of the earth, even up until today, and what we're doing. So it didn't just get hid. It didn't go away. So what does that mean? The fact that that video is coming out now in these last days, and this type of information, because I didn't know that. I mean, I already knew this devil has done such horrific things to us, but I did not know about this event in Louisiana or New Orleans. It explained to you in this video how America got wealthy, right, off of slavery. Millionaires. Imagine being a millionaire during that time. That's like damn near being a billionaire. Okay? So, let me read this again. Proverbs 15 and 3. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. Beholding. 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 It says to look out, about, spy, keep watch, observe, watch, to watch, spy, to watch closely. And you know how that's done? Through the angels, right? Through the messengers of the Lord. Even us, when we see iniquity, when we see evil, we're going to speak out about it. This was hidden, and now the Lord is actually allowing this type of information to come out for a reason. This epistle I'm doing is another case against this devil. That's what this is right here. This is not a pump you up or exhorting. It could be exhorting, you know, if you are in the spirit and you want to see justice. But a lot of you don't want to see that. A lot of you Israelites, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, you have got comfortable under your enemy, under your master. And now you want to stay here and you want to ignore this type of information, or when it is brought out, it's brought out in the light of, well, we forgive them, but the Lord ain't forgiving them. So what makes you think your forgiveness is going to trump Yahawah, who is the world English calls God? His name is Yahawah. He is bahasham, in the name Yahawahshi, whom the world English calls Jesus. His name is Yahawahshi. He delivers. You can't trump their judgment, right? This is Luke 12 and 2. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid, that shall not be known. So all this devil's atrocities is coming out in books. It's coming out in memoirs, videos like this. So you Edomites, I know you want the slave artifacts taken down. You don't want to be reminded of what your forefathers did. I'm seeing on TikTok a uprising of Edomite pride to this point where they don't care that their forefathers did this to you, Negro, Latino, Native Americans. So you don't really make yourself, I'm talking to you niggers now, you don't make yourself look esteemed or have high character because you're turning the other cheek and you're confessing to the Lord that you want them to be saved. Number one, the Lord don't hear the prayers of the wicked anyway. I'm talking about you so-called Negro, Latinos, Native Americans. So your prayers get routed because the Lord, Yahawah, bahasham, don't want to hear that shit. He don't want to hear you praying for your enemy when you're supposed to be cursing them. When I say cursing them, you're supposed to be putting prayers up to bring utter destruction on them in this kingdom. So if you're not doing that, then you're in the wrong spirit. And you're ultimately going to be destroyed. Let me read it again. Leviticus 12:2. For there is nothing covered, and that there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. So it's all being made known. Every little wicked act you goddamn devils done did, it's being made known. Jeremiah 49:10. But I have made Esau bare. Right? Let's look that word up. Bare primarily means lacking covering or clothing, naked, empty, unadorned. It can function as an adjective, bare feet, a verb meaning to uncover or expose, to bare your teeth, or informally a British slang vary. Let's see something here. Bible. In the Bible, bare primarily means uncovered, exposed. See, the Lord said, I have made Esau bare. I have exposed him. How? How does the Lord expose this devil? Well, first of all, there's a group of men on earth. They're called the Hebrew Israelites, right? And among them, there's a group of men within that. They're called what? The men of the Lord. And this is what they do. I can't move from here because I don't want to change the location of my precepts. So I'm just going to go to another device real quick. Bear with me. All right. Amos 3:6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in the city, and the Lord Yahawah have not done it? So we know the Lord is in control of everything. That's why it makes sense, Proverbs chapter 15:3, that he sees everything. Verse 7, surely the Lord Yahawah will do nothing, but revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. See, once the secret is revealed, it's passed down to another prophet, because the prophets are subject to the prophets. And now what you have? You have men doing epistles, going out on the highways and byways and exposing, going in, looking up history, looking up words, and exposing this damn devil. Like the Bible says, it says bare primarily means uncovered, exposed, or lacking protection, right? If it's used both literally, nakedness or stripped of leaves, and metaphorically, vulnerable, laid open to view, or destitute. And that's the end game. That's the end game for this devil, man. You see, for Jeremiah 49:10 again. It says, but I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. So we know that the so-called white man is Esau, Edom, okay? The wicked. We know that. That's been made known. Even when you other Edomites say, no, the Edomites are done away with. Well, guess what? your folks over there, your blood brother over there in Jerusalem, the other Edomites, the Amalekites, they say Esau is going to be destroyed and Esau is in America. They call you Esau, okay? But you're all one. The Ukrainians, the Russians, right? Again, those folks over there in Israel, and of course the good old boys down here in America, all in the South, okay, in New York, all over the United States. And you can go and see the hatred that they still have, and rightfully so, because the Lord put that spirit in them for a reason. It says, Jeremiah 49:10, but I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Okay? So the Lord is letting you know these last three precepts out of read. Nothing they have done is going to get overlooked. They have been uncovered. They are being exposed daily through these epistles, through these teachings, through the name of Yahawah, giving the spiritual discernment to the men he's selected to go out and preach and teach the downfall of this kingdom. Whether you will hear for bear is irrelevant. We're not here to convince anymore. The spirit has already justified what we need to know and do. So we're out of the business of trying to convince people that you're an Edomite. That's not our job. Our job is to do exactly what I'm doing. Expose, make a case, use the scriptures to back it up, and wait on the Lord. Numbers chapter 35 and 33. Do not pollute the land where ye are. Bloodshed pollutes the land. And I've been reading this scripture for, I think, the last three lessons I've done, because it goes back to this 250-year anniversary was most recently celebrated on the 4th of July. This is the thing. What you just saw, okay, is what I showed you in that video. What I'm reading is letting you know, none of these things are going to be hidden anymore. But more important than that, this scripture right here, coincides with what happened during the time of when they signed the Declaration of Independence on up until this time in New Orleans. In the video I just played, the bloodshed of the land is what this scripture is addressing, and how it has to be a recompense, meaning paid back, because blood was shed, and it's the Lord's people. Okay, you may call us Africans. We're past that too, because see, the Bible breaks it down. It's only 18 nations in the Bible. There is no such thing as a black man or a white man. That's why I always say so-called. There's an Edomite and an Israelite. There's a Moabite, all right, and a Hamite. Okay? What does that mean? Judgment is coming. You ain't going to be escaping. See, you hid behind whiteness. You hid behind Ukrainian, Russian. But at the end of the day, the Lord coming to judge the Edomites. And that's any and everyone whose lineage goes back to Esau. Okay? You ain't going to be able to escape your judgment. All right? You might not even remember what you did in your past life, but the Lord does. It's all been recorded. Numbers 35 and 33 in the New International Version. It says, do not pollute the land where ye are. Bloodshed pollutes the land. So you know it's bloodshed from sea to shiny sea. From Florida all the way up to Canada, all the way over to California, in the middle, all the way down to Texas, all over the United States. There's bloodshed of the Israelites. And primarily in the South, all right, okay, but all over this motherfucker. Even Puerto Rico, yeah, yup. They were called Taínos. That's a different lesson. Nevertheless, those conquistadors were Edomites. They weren't what the world call Spaniards. I mean, that's what they call themselves, but they were Edomites. And they knew those were Israelites, those so-called Puerto Ricans, which are actually the tribe of Ephraim, fruitful. Okay, and you don't know how many people done died over in that area. All right, same when the French invaded Haiti. You see, all these things are going to be paid back. Numbers 35 and 33 again. Do not pollute the land where ye are. Bloodshed pollutes the land, and the atonement cannot be made for the land of which the blood has been shed. Atonement, to appease the wrath of the Lord. The Lord said, you can't appease me with no type of sacrifice from an animal. You can't even, you damn Edomites can't pray to Yahawah to forgive you for what your forefathers did, because you are your forefathers. You can't pray out of it. It says, an atonement cannot be made for the land on which blood has been shed, except, see that? Except by the blood of the one who shed it. See, this how we know, and there's more to come, you devils are going to pay for all of this. Every last one of you. Your wives, your children. Right. So the Lord is letting you know this is your time to shine. And do whatever you want to do. Be however you going to be. Right. This is Lamentations chapter 4, 21. I'm going to read it in the NIV. It says, rejoice and be glad, daughter of Edom. Who's the daughter of Edom? The Edomites. Where's the daughter of Edom living at today? In America. You who live in the land of Uz, America. But to you also the cup will be passed. The cup of slavery, the cup of affliction, the cup of all of the shit that you done to the Lord's people. You're going to get a cup. Actually, in Revelation chapter 18, it says you're going to get a double cup. It says you will drink, Salaki. But to you also the cup will be passed. You will be drunk and stripped naked. Stripped naked meaning your wickedness has been exposed. You're not protected no more. It's only a matter of time before Yahawahshi comes back and deliver or redeem his elect and kill off the other nations, okay? And do away with America forever. See, a 250-year anniversary insinuates one thing, especially when you put a time capsule on the ground, that you will be back in another 250 years, okay? Which is just, it's impossible. The Lord is not a man that he should lie. Okay? Could you imagine being here another 250 years and coming back to the world 10 or 5 or 4 more times? It would just be, look, it's over. It's over for Babylon, and it's over for you Edomites. It says, your punishment will end, daughter of Zion. He will not prolong your exile, but he will punish your sin, daughter of Edom. We finna see what the sin, the ultimate sin is. And expose your wickedness. So they're going to be punished for their sin. And their sin is not just the murder and the grape and the afflictions on the so-called black man, but even being in the place of power, like the scriptures say, Job 9:24, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked, and using that power to do wickedly with it. That's going to be another punishment. Not keeping the land Sabbath. Having everybody celebrate holidays instead of the holy days. Having everyone in witchcraft, in devil or satanic worship. You see, these things are going to be paid back. This is Ezekiel chapter 35, and I'm going to start at verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. Who's Mount Seir? Let's see. Seir. Hairy, shaggy, a patriarch of the Horites, the inhabitants of Edom, before the descendants of Esau and the Edomites. So these are Edomites. See? A mountain range in Edom extending from the Dead Sea. This is their living space. Okay? This is where they dwelled at. Yep. Rough Seir, a mountain of Idumea. Idumea is the Greek way of saying Edom. And its aboriginal occupants. Also, one in Palestine, Seir. But we know when you read Seir, it is talking about the Edomites. Point, period, blank. Right? It says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Tell the people of Mount Seir, the Edomites, their judgment. Let them know that they're going to pay for all what their forefathers did to the Lord's people. We're talking about George Washington, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Obama. He's not a so-called Israel. I mean, he's not a so-called black man. He is either an Hamite or an Edomite. I'm leaning more towards an Edomite, personally. But he could be a Hamite. He for damn sure ain't a so-called black man. And that's a whole other lesson as well. But I'm letting you know, all who touch the Lord's people are going to be paid back. Whether you indirectly led them to do wickedness or you forced wickedness on them. Okay? All the unnecessary bloodshed. Right? It's your perpetual hatred. It says, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord, Yahawah, behold, I, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate, done away with, kaput. It says, I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord Yahawah. See what that Lord in all caps? That's Yahawah right there. That's the Lord's name. The Lord, the Heavenly Father is letting his men know to go let you Edomites know and the other nations that you're going to be judged for your hand in the captivity of the Lord's people and all of the atrocities that you've done towards them. Especially the so-called white man. You see? And just for the record, not all white people are Edomites, and not all so-called black people are Israelites. All right? I was looking at some videos on TikTok. It's a couple of what appear to be Israelite men letting the people know, I'm going to be with the white man when the race war start out, and you niggas is done. So I will perceive them to be Edomites, even though they look like dark as a goddamn Snickers bar. But their spirit says otherwise. So just to put that out there. It says, Ezekiel 35:5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred. Let's look at that word perpetual. That's important, right? Perpetual hatred. Olam, I believe that's correct.
Strong's H5769. Olam.
Long duration, antiquity, salaklia. Forever and ever, everlasting, evermore, perpetual, old, ancient. That goes back to Genesis, right? It says, ancient, long time, always, forever, continuance. This is why it's still Jake's being hung and dismembered. Okay? It's probably something we ain't going to never hear from until the Lord comes back and even that gets exposed. It's going to be a very, very dark and gloomy day on the day of the Lord. And that's why it's sad to see that a lot of you Israelites who chose to say, yeah, these people are going to be, they're going to make it, they're going to be delivered, you're going to stay in that spirit and suffer the same death as your daddy Esau. Everlasting, indefinite, or unending future, eternity. So this is not going to change until they're taken out of power. That's the point. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by force of the sword. The sword is this man's gift. That was his blessing. And he's using it at will. It's the gun. It's the nukes. It's all manner of tactical warfare. All manner of chemical warfare. All manner of now hypersonic warfare. Okay? Even spiritual warfare. By sending enchantments out on the left-hand side. To do what? To confound you so-called Negro, Latinos, Native Americans. Especially with AI. Right? It says, therefore, Salaki, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel. Remember Numbers 35 and 33, right? The children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. See, when we were not under such extreme punishment from the Lord, you devils took it upon your own selves because of that deep root hatred to push the envelope. Then you get buck breaking. You get your rod cut off. You getting your woman raped right in front of you as a man, and you can't do anything about it. You seeing your children taken from you and sent off, and you never see them again. All these things. And it's more. It's more. This is just a snippet of what the Lord is going to continue to reveal. And Lord willing, we keep bringing it out so that this devil can be exposed every day. It says, therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Seest thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. And how is that blood going to pursue thee? Well, it's going to start with the downfall of your kingdom, which is happening. And then it's ultimately going to just slowly progress into what? Until those nukes come. And then when the people over here die, the remaining that's left. Let me read that real quick. Let me read this judgment real quick. This is for America right here. Behold, Malachi 4:1. Behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven. We know nothing can burn as an oven as hot as a nuclear missile, right? And all the proud, yea, who's the proud? Well, anybody that is against the Lord, but specifically the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. That's the proud. It says, and all the proud, yea, and all who that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. Now, what can do something like that? A nuclear bomb. So that's what's coming to America, right? And why? Why? Let's get back to the why again. This is Obadiah chapter 1. It's only one chapter. Let me start at 8. Obadiah 1 and 8. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise man out of Edom? So once your top scientists are taken out, can't make any more machinations to kill off people. That's another sword that this devil was given, right? It says, and the understanding out of the mount of Esau, the understanding of how to avoid judgment, the understanding of how to make weapons that could protect this kingdom, right? All of the wisdom in this kingdom is going to be exposed and drained. It says, and the mighty man, O Teman, which are the Germans, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. And that's how it's going to happen, pursuing the Malachi 4:1, right? Revelation chapter 18, Isaiah chapter 34, Isaiah chapter 13, Isaiah chapter 47, okay? Jeremiah chapter 49, Jeremiah chapter 50, Jeremiah chapter 52 specifically talks about this devil's destruction and desolation for what? It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. See? For the violence. Just look that violence up. Right? Against thy brother Jacob, which are the 12 tribes, the 12 patriots of Israel, the so-called Negro Latinos and Native Americans. Violence, wrong, cruelty, injustice. What did you see in that video I just showed you? You saw violence, cruelty, and injustice because no one went to jail for that. It was just allowed to be done because you were slaves under your master. And you rebelled, you tried to get free, and that was the end game. And to make sure no one else done it, they made an example out of them. They were already dead, but they wanted to do what? Be cruel, right? With violence, by decapitating their heads and then putting them on poles for a show of remembrance. But it didn't work out that well for you, Esau, because now it is being remembered. And so the Lord is going to remember it and bring justice, right? It says, I'm going to read this again. For thy violence shall be cut off. So like, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. What's the Hebrew word for cut off? I believe is karat. Let's look what that means. Huh? To cut off, cut down, cut off a body part, to cut out, eliminate, kill, to cut off a body part. Didn't they cut off our body part? Didn't they decapitate that? You see that right there? Look at that. Look at that. You see that? That's what the Lord said. That's why you got to look words up. These things going to happen to you too, Esau. Right? This going to happen to the bankers, though. You regular barley eating, beer drinking, Confederate flag ass Edomites in the South, and you liberal wannabe Negro lover Edomites, your ass is going to get blown to smithereens. So that's the slaughter. But when this time come right here, a lot of this is going to be going on when we feel like it, because it's going to be righteous. You see? This is going to be righteous. Look at that. Cut down, hew. Cut down, to be chewed. We might let our beast chew your ass up, right? To cut off, destroy. A permanent perish, to a permanent perish. That's what the Hebrew word for cut off means. Karat, right? So after 1,000 years of slavery, this is the end game for you right here. It says, Obadiah 1:18, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall nothing be any remaining, Salakia, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. And when the Lord speaks on something, it does not come back void. This is Isaiah. I'll close out with this. Isaiah chapter 55 and 11. Let me get right to it. I'm going to see what it say in the NLT, right? It is the same with my word. I send it out, and it always produces fruit. In this case, the fruit of destruction, the fruit of annihilation, the fruit of repayment for your iniquity, your transgressions, your sins, and your hatred towards the Lord's people. You wasn't chosen, and we were. It says, it will accomplish all I want it to, and it will prosper everywhere I send it. So everywhere those nukes come in America, that shit gonna destroy. And everywhere in the kingdom to come, when you Edomites are serving your captivity, you're gonna be getting chopped up at our will, right? Because we're gonna have reign over you like you had over us, right? And then at the end, you're gonna be put in a bonfire, right? Like fucking Yule logs, okay? Dumped in there, set on fire, and burned slowly. And the Israelites are going to cheer like it's 1999. That's right. And you will never, ever be here again. Just your spirit, because the Lord, he created spirits, and the spirit is energy. But your flesh shall disappear. And no more looking at your ass. You see? Just like you got a perpetual hatred for us, it's likewise, okay? So, with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, bahasham Yahawahshi, bahasham Rakakodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom.